Hello, you're watching World News on TVP World. My name is Sasha Farbach. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is leading a U.S. delegation in pivotal talks with Russian officials in Saudi Arabia, aimed at progressing toward a ceasefire in Ukraine. So-called technical discussions are focusing on ensuring the safety of shipping in the Black Sea, with the long-term goal of securing a permanent peace settlement. According to Kremlin officials, Moscow and Washington share a common understanding on the need for a settlement to end the war. However, this meeting will focus on an agreement to pause fighting around the Black Sea, a deal similar to the Black Sea grain initiative that Russia pulled out of in July 2023. The Russian delegation at the meeting includes Grigory Karasin and Sergei Baseda, both of whom have been placed under international sanctions. The Turkish police have detained over 1,300 protesters, according to the Interior Ministry in Ankara. According to independent sources, law enforcement has also arrested 10 journalists, including foreign correspondents, who were reporting on the protests sweeping the country.
Sunday night saw ramping up of the largest protest Turkey has seen in more than a decade. Crowds gathered near Istanbul's city hall for the 5th night in a row, waving Turkish flags and chanting in front of a row of riot police. Officers could be seen firing water cannons at some of the protesters and using pepper spray. In total, rallies took place in at least 55 out of Turkey's 81 provinces, or in more than two-thirds of the country. In response, President Erdogan condemned the demonstrations and accused the opposition Republican People's Party of disturbing peace and polarizing Turkish society. Erdogan will also hold a meeting with the Turkish Cabinet of Ministers, where he is expected to comment on the ongoing demonstrations. The protests began after Ekrem İmamoğlu, the mayor of Istanbul, and Erdogan's main political rival, was detained and then formally arrested on charges of corruption. In the same week, he was due to be selected as the Republican Party's presidential nominee.
On Monday, Germany condemned the jailing of Istanbul mayor and Turkish opposition leader Ekrem İmamoğlu, with Berlin saying it's following the developments in the country with great concern. The European Commission has also urged Turkey to uphold democratic values, as both a member of the Council of Europe and an EU candidate state.
What we can say is the arrest of the mayor İmamoğlu and the protesters give rise to the questions regarding Turkey's adherence to its long-established democratic tradition. As a Council of Europe member and an EU candidate, Turkey must uphold democratic values. These rights, the rights of elected officials, as well as the right of peaceful demonstrations, need to be fully respected.
Rafał Trzaskowski, the mayor of Warsaw and presidential candidate of the ruling Civic Coalition party, is topping the latest poll ahead of the vote. Trzaskowski has been leading in the polls since the campaign began. According to the Opinia24 research agency, Rafał Trzaskowski could take more than 36% of the vote. He's trailed by Karol Nawrocki, a right-wing candidate backed by Poland's biggest opposition party, Law and Justice, who is now looking to pick up around 20% of the ballots. However, Nawrocki is seeing his position increasingly challenged by Sławomir Mencen, one of the leaders of the far-right Confederation Party, who the latest polls show on track to secure 18% of the vote. Karol Nawrocki, the director of Poland's Institute of National Remembrance and presidential candidate supported by the right-wing Law and Justice Party, has uploaded a photo to X with sitting President Andrzej Duda. Nawrocki published the photo with caption, "Let's go." The spokesman for the Institute of National Remembrance has confirmed that the two officials are taking part in two events honoring Poles saving Jews under German occupation. Duda and Nawrocki are believed to be traveling to the events together. Last week, another presidential candidate, Sławomir Mencen, from far-right Confederation Party, also published a photo showing himself alongside President Duda. Poland's nuclear power plant project may encounter delays or consultations from the European Commission. However, as long as Poland follows clear instructions and confirmed mechanisms, the construction process should proceed as planned, according to Paweł Gajda, director of the Department of Nuclear Energy at the Polish Ministry of Industry. His comments came on Monday at the Nuclear Power in Poland conference organized by the Sobieski Institute.
In general, because every nuclear project would require some kind of state aid on this form or the other, it will require the permission from the European Commission. So, of course, there is always potential to have some additional delays for the necessary negotiations. But as long as we will be using a mechanism that were already approved by the European Commission for the state aid on the other projects somewhere in Europe, this risk is much lower. However, anyway, we are still in contact with European Commission. We are discussing several issues regarding, I would say, the nuclear projects in Europe in general to smoothen this process in the future.
Greenland's leaders have criticized this week's planned high-profile U.S. visit to the semi-autonomous Danish territory. The delegation will be led by Usha Vance, wife of Vice President J.D. Vance. Will include White House National Security Advisor Mike Waltz and Energy Secretary Chris Wright.
According to the Second Lady's office, Vance will leave the U.S. on Thursday and return Saturday. Vance and one of her 3 children will be part of the U.S. delegation that will visit historic sites and learn about Greenlandic heritage. Vance will also attend the Avanata Kimuseru, Greenland's national dog sled race. The island's outgoing Prime Minister, Mutte Egede, has called the delegation's visit a provocation and said his caretaker government would not meet with it. Since returning to the White House, Donald Trump has repeatedly said that the U.S. will gain control of Greenland, something that the island's inhabitants oppose and have recently been protesting.
The first phase of coalition talks in Germany ends today. Results will be presented in the evening. The involved parties still disagree on migration, social policy and taxes, but Germany's likely next chancellor, Friedrich Merz, said that he wants to have a new government by Easter.
Germany's conservative Christian Democrats are crafting a coalition with the leftist Social Democrats. Even though these parties have cooperated in the past, their ideological differences are difficult to overcome. One point of contention is migration. The election winner, the Christian Democratic Union or CDU, has a more hardline approach than its possible coalition partners. CDU leader Friedrich Merz wants to introduce stricter border controls and deny entry to asylum seekers. Since taking the helm of the CDU, Merz has rebranded the party as substantially more conservative than in prior years, including under Angela Merkel. But in order to govern, Merz will have to tone down his rhetoric and make concessions to the Social Democrats. Since the CDU has pretty much ruled out cooperating with any other faction, it's believed that the Social Democrats have leverage in the coalition talks and will make sure to include many of their postulates in a possible coalition deal. The first session of the newly elected German parliament takes place on Tuesday, the 25th of March.
In just a few hours, Poland's national football team will take on Malta in their second match of the 2026 World Cup qualifiers. The game is set to kick off at 8:45 p.m. Central Eastern Time at the National Stadium in Warsaw. Captain Robert Lewandowski and his teammates are eager to secure a crucial victory in front of their home crowd after a solid start to the campaign 1-0 win over Lithuania on Friday. Poland is currently ranked 35th in the FIFA World Rankings, while Malta is 168th. Poland's qualifying Group G also includes the Netherlands and Finland, with the top teams earning spots for the 2026 World Cup, which will be jointly hosted by the United States, Canada, and Mexico. TVP World sports correspondent John Carter joined us in the studio earlier to offer his predictions on the upcoming match. Take a look.
It's important. I think Poland probably will win. But I think more than anything, it's important for morale. They need to show something to convince people that they're on the right path. So it's really about sending a message more than anything else and convincing themselves that they're capable of actually making an impression against better teams. Because once you actually get to a World Cup, you know, you're not going to be playing Malta and Lithuania. You're going to be playing the big teams.
The big boys.
And can you compete with them?
And with that, we conclude this news bulletin, but we'll be back at the top of the hour right here on TVP World. Goodbye.